It's funny when I watch defensive ends, being a Bears fan all these years and being somebody that watched Lovie Smith for 9 years. Sometimes I struggle in evaluations because I look at guys very much from a cover two prism, a cover two type of perspective. And I don't know how else to really describe it. But so it's funny when I watch a guy like Dwayne Smoot and he's playing at Illinois and he's coached by, of all people, Lovie Smith. Now I'm fully judging him from a cover two perspective. And I feel like I've got some area of understanding and knowledge in terms of cover two because I watched my team play that system for almost a decade and have some success doing so. But you look at Smoot, in terms of projecting him to the NFL level, there might be some thoughts and perhaps a chance that he ends up getting a chance mostly as a 3-4 outside linebacker, as an edge rusher because of some of the traits that he has. But watching him at Illinois, it probably helped him that he played under Lovie Smith because he showed some ability to potentially play in a cover two as a 4-3 defensive end. Now, here's what I liked about Smoot on film. I thought he had decent size, whether you play him at 4-3 defensive end or especially at 3-4 outside linebacker, size translates even more. He's a big guy at that point. But at defensive end, he's probably just big enough, which is cool. Not everybody needs to be a 300 pounder. He's not 240 pounds, but 265 or so pounds, that's a good sweet spot for a cover two defensive end. He's got really good burst and explosiveness off of the ball. This is a guy that can fly off out of into the backfield off of the line. This is a guy that has shown some ability to me to bend the edge. When you're talking about playing in a cover two type of system like under Lovie Smith at Illinois, the thing that he wants the most from his defensive ends, if they've got that type of skill set, mind you, he doesn't have the Ogunleyes and the Alex Browns of the world, but he wants those guys, the Simeon Rice types that can really fly off the ball and get into the backfield and bend the edge. He wants that upfield pursuit from the defensive ends, and Dwayne Smoot has that ability. Now, for a guy at 265 pounds, I thought strength was going to be a major liability. And while he's not the strongest dude, I thought he played with a decent amount of strength and power for his size. I thought part of the reason why I envisioned him being a 4-3 defensive end, as well as maybe a 3-4 outside linebacker, but actually being able to stick as a 4-3 defensive end in certain systems, is the fact that he played slightly bigger than the 6'3", 264 pounds that he has on his frame. He's got decent pass rush ability. You could see where he was coached up well, and I feel like he's been prepared somewhat well for the NFL level by Lovie, but he only got 1 year really under Lovie. He could have, if he had it, used another year to work on his pass rush technique and expand some of his pass rush moves, but there's something to work with there. He plays with adequate pad level and leverage. He does an adequate job, again, not great, but adequate in terms of fighting blocks and fighting off of some blockers. But what really hurts Smoot to me in my eyes a little bit and holds him back from being a more highly rated prospect is he's not all that great as a run defender. He's not terrible. He's not very good. What really stands out to me, though, is just a lack of overall football instincts and awareness and football IQ. You could see it where he looked lost at times. He'd fly too far up the field, which some of the defensive ends in Lovey's cover two system are prone to do. So they can get broken down. Seems to be a little lost sometimes in run defense. But just in general, you look at him, and once you get past that burst and explosiveness, there's quite a bit of work that still needs to be made in order to make Dwayne Smoot the type of football player that he could potentially be from an athletic standpoint. He's got some work to do. Now, he's got a good foundation again, and I think potentially some teams might want him as a 3-4 outside linebacker over a defensive end, and I understand that because they might feel that size and burst translates better at that position. You get him free, get him off the line, get a running start, he could be dangerous, and that's very potentially what could happen. In terms of his draft range, he could go somewhere, I think, between round 3 to round number 5. It just kind of depends. I think some of it will depend on what people envision being his best fit and position at the NFL level. Some teams, in terms of what they value in terms of 4-3 defensive ends or 3-4 defensive or outside linebackers, excuse me. I've got a grade on him of an 81.0, which makes him kind of a late third-round pick. Maybe, a guy that I would feel comfortable taking middle round 3 to middle of round 4, somewhere in that range. He's got some talent. He's got some upside. He's got some potential. Do I think he has star written on him? No. Do I worry about the fact that he might be a guy that only has that burst off of the ball, and then after that, there's not a whole lot else there, perhaps. But like I said, again, he plays a little bit bigger than his size would indicate. His leverage isn't that bad. He does an okay job of fighting off of blockers. There's something to work with. If you get him into a good NFL defensive program and they can work on some of the technique issues, this is a guy that could be a contributor potentially at the NFL level.